Welcome. This is literally the first video on my channel, so if you've come across this and you're watching this, congratulations. You have stumbled upon a virgin channel. Don't forget to leave me a like, subscribe and a comment. Yeah, so what we're going to do is I'm going to do a couple of little projects. I've got a video coming up on making homemade MREs or rations, as opposed to the expensive sort of US and British rations that you can buy. I'm going to be taking some stuff apart. I've got some repairs that I need to do. So yeah, shall we get started on today's project? Roll VT. Hey guys, welcome. What I've done is I finally got round to getting my first video made, sort of mid lockdown. Good, you know, I don't know when it's going to get edited and things, but essentially I've done this a few times. I've made a couple of videos and I keep you know, not liking the footage that I've taken. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take some footage, I'm going to do a little project, edit it together, and then if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, then you don't like it. And that'll be it. I won't keep editing, re-editing and putting away and come back. What we're going to do today is I'm going to take a battery powered product, some LED lighting product. I think I'm going to choose the tree. My wife bought this from B&M's. It's a little bit too big to get into the frame there, but I'll go my. And essentially what it is, it's a 2-foot Christmas tree for sticking up in your window or whatever during the festive period. And it was supposed to be a tenner from B&M's. This was bought just after Christmas. I think we got it for about £2. It wasn't very much at all. And one of my biggest gripes is at Christmas it costs us used to cost us an absolute fortune for batteries when we're doing this thing. So essentially this thing runs on 4.5 volts DC, which is 3 AA batteries in the base. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to alter this so that it'll work with a USB lead, so I don't have to keep buying batteries and putting them in and wasting batteries and things. So yeah, there we go. Get this out of the box. It's a little bit big to go underneath. There we are. And this is the tree here. So essentially it's a fake tree. It's not real wood, but they've got these lovely little LEDs on the end. And it's covered in snow, which is actually not what I want, because I don't want this for Christmas. I want this for the table downstairs. We've just put a new hallway in downstairs with some new tiles and things, and I want this for the table, the new table that we just put in the corner. So what I'm going to do is, after I've done this alteration, I'm going to take a Dremel to this and I'm going to take off all of the fake snow. It's like plastic polymer stuff, but it does fall off. I mean, probably scratch some of it off, to be honest. Yeah, it's just. But I'll take all that off with a Dremel, and we'll get going. So, because this is a little bit big to go underneath the camera lens, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew the base, which then lets that lie sort of semi-flat like that. Now, inside of here, I've took the screw out already, but inside of here, what we've got is we've got a resistor buried deep down inside there, and 2 wires which go up to the LEDs. And 1 wire goes to the negative on the battery terminals, 1 wire goes to the positive, and then they're just in series around the centre. So there's 2 ways that you can do this, and I'm only going to do one way today because I'm going to do a whole new video on how to do the other method. But the other method that I'm going to show you in a later video is I'm going to show you how to do this using just a half watt or a 1 watt resistor. So it's a little bit cheaper than what we're going to do today. Not that what we're doing today is expensive, but it'll certainly be cheaper. So at the moment I've got £2 invested in this. I'm going to add another £1 10p including delivery in the form of a circuit board, and we're going to convert the 5 volts from the USB down to 4.5 volts for the tree. Now I could probably just plug a USB lead straight onto here, the positive and the negative, but really I would overdrive the LEDs. I mean, they look brighter, but they wouldn't last a full year, I don't think. So I will get myself a USB lead and I'll show you what I'm going to do from there. Okay, so I came across this a while ago. It was in a skip. I do a bit of skip diving. I love going through what we call wee skips. That's not a small skip in Scotland, or a skip that's been urinated in, hopefully in England. It's a skip for the waste of electronic equipment, and you find these all over. You just ask permission from whoever's skip it is if you can have a little look through, and promise not to sue if you cut yourself and things. But I got this, they're normally a couple of quid, but I got this totally free because they ordered the wrong ones. They were meant to be ordering USB A to USB B, C? I can't remember. It's basically the printer cable that they wanted. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end off, I'm going to cut that off, I'm going to strip it back, and I'm going to find what's hopefully is a red and a black wire inside. Hopefully it's colour coded. If not, we can bell it out with the multimeter there, but it'd be certainly easier if that was colour coded. So, back in a moment. Okay, I'm back. Now, this lamp is very, very close to where I'm going to plug this thing in, so I don't need very much cable. So this is, I've measured this already. It's around about 40 centimeters I need, so I'm going to snip that off there like that. Okay, and then I'm going to strip this back just a little bit, and there'll be people out there going, "Oh, you'll cut the wires." And this is just how I strip this stuff when I work on it. So what we've got inside the wire is, and this is certainly not unique to this wire, but it's not as common as not having this, is you've got some shielding on the outside. So what I tend to do with the shielding is just snip that off. We don't need it. It is a type of grounding for some applications, but we don't need it for this one, as we're going to ground through the USB supply that I'm going to use. The next thing is to peel back the other layer of shielding, which I'm going to need the snips for. And inside we've got a green, a white, a black and a red wire. Hopefully that's in focus there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take off the green and the white wire, and I'm going to snip them at ever so slightly different levels so they don't touch each other. There's not an issue if they do. They're just the data lines. They're what would send your information if this was plugged into a computer, but we just want the power. So take that off there, and then just carefully strip. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tin these leads, which means I'm just going to put a small bit of solder on there. Now I've got leaded solder. It's absolutely fine. No one's going to get hurt. We've got some leaded solder there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some flux. So I've got a flux pen here that was kindly donated by one of my students this year, so I'm going to use that. And what this does is it puts a little thin layer of, it actually looks like petroleum jelly. It looks like Vaseline. It smells alcohol-y, but if you've ever seen flux in a they probably use alcohol as a solvent to keep it liquid. But if you ever see this stuff in a plumber's bag, then it's very much like Vaseline, but it cleans the metal when it heats up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little bit of solder to this, and it's going to clean up the surface and take the solder really easily. Just like that. Just like that. I'm just going to zoom down so you can see it a little bit better. So yeah, so those two are tinned. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our circuit board out of the packet. Now this is a LM2596 module. You can I'll put a little link to that down below. And essentially what it does is it's called a buck converter, DC to DC converter if you really want to be specific. And it's got all the circuitry on one side, and on the other side it's got an arrow, and what that shows is the direction of conventional current flow. So you'll put your input here where it says in, plus and minus, and you get an output out there, and by adjusting that screw there, it'll change the output voltage for you without the need to convert to AC, use a transformer and convert back again. So they're quite efficient little modules, but what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to solder our USB onto here, like so, and then we need to set that voltage before we can install it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tin these two leads as well, which will require just a little bit of flux as well. Again, sorry about the going in and out of focus. I'm still practicing with the camera equipment. Okie dokie. Then pop a little bit on the other side. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to put these through the holes that way. Obviously I've just put solder on, so that's not going to happen. But what I am going to do is I'm going to actually hot melt glue this lead onto here. Okay, so I'm going to hot melt glue the lead in and hot melt glue this into the actual body of the little tree. So let's get this. I've only got a little solder helper, but it's disappeared at the moment. So I'm not worried about the fact that there's going to be strain on these cables. It is literally just, in fact I'm going to put a little bit more flux on just to make sure I get a good connection. I don't normally go this wild with the flux, but with it being quite old solder, it's solder I've had since I was a teenager actually, just make sure that it does actually stick. So here we go. That one. And onto that one there. There we go. So again, I'm not bothered about the strain. If I was bothered, I might tuck that back underneath gently and put a cable tie around. But again, I'm going to hot melt glue this in, so it's not a massive issue. Let's get back out there. There we go. Right, okay, so the next thing to do is to plug this into a socket. Now, I've actually got a USB socket here. It's just a bog standard, it's actually an Apple one, it's quite a posh one. You don't have to use a posh one, but I would say use a safe one. Don't order, you know, a 99p one off eBay and expect it to be plugged in all the time. You might lose your house. But if you know, you can get a cheap phone charger that you can plug it into, or a little dedicated plug, but I would spend a little bit more money just to get something safe. We'll plug that in, and then we'll plug this in to the actual USB, and on there we get a light. So I've got my meter set to volts DC, I've got my meter probes just stuck on the end there. Not lose it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust that screw just there. So at the moment it's giving out 2.3 volts. It actually says minus 2.3, but it's just the way that I'm measuring this. I might have the leads the wrong way around. And the target number is 4.5. I'm going to go just a little bit over 4.5 because that will drop when it's under load. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so I've got this to 4.5, or just a little bit over actually, just because that will drop ever so slightly when I go there. So 4.5, 1, Brilliant. Right, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to plug in my hot melt glue gun. Let that warm up. And I'm going to bring in my tree. Off to the side there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect these two wires. Don't think I'm going to desolder them. I think I'm just going to straight disconnect them. And I'm going to need to make a little bit of room for that. So let's have a little look. I'm just going to cut this with the snips. Break it off like that. I'm just going to take this base off so I can disconnect, because there is a resistor under there, so I don't want to take off the resistor. It's obviously been calibrated for that. 4.5 volts. Quite an inefficient way of doing that, really, putting a resistor in when you could have just put a few extra LEDs on or something, because that is going to make that battery last even less. Okay, so we still got the switch on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect that from the switch and disconnect that from there. So this one is the positive and this one's a negative, so I'm going to bring this in here. I can actually screw this back down now, which is probably make it look a little bit better. And I just want to clean this up a little bit and tin this one as well. There we go. So my put a little bit of flux on there for the output. Put a little bit of solder on here. So the out negative is going to go onto here. We take that out just so it doesn't short circuit anything. Take this out as well. Just give it a little bit more room. There's a lot to be said for a decent set of side cutters. Just to mangle plastic and get rid of it. And I'll solder that negative onto that. I'm going to crop this one a little bit because it's slightly too long. And then I'm going to solder that positive onto there. And we're going to need an exit for the cable, so I'm just going to chomp Again, just with me snippers. Doesn't have to be pretty. This bit's got to be to the side of the wall so no one can see it. Maybe a little bit more. I've known people that would have took a soldering iron to this, but I value my soldering iron tips far too much. So, I've got my hot melt glue gun now, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick a blob of hot melt glue underneath. Big blob, and just shove that down into that hot melt glue. And then stick that on the top as well. And of course, hot melt glue is non-conductive, so you can use quite a bit of it. You're not going to short anything out. Like that. Okay, and now we'll just put the base back on. So I'll go on. There we go. Fully working, USB powered tree. I wouldn't say Christmas tree because I'm going to take the snow off it, but a powered tree. That is the end of the project. So if you like what you've seen today, if you think that you might do something similar, or you want to ask any questions, hit that like button, give me a subscribe. It's a new channel. Any subscription I'm going to be grateful for. And stick a comment below if you've got any questions or any comments.